welcome to the first of 3 lectures on the 1850s, and it's sometimes called the road to the Civil War or the Sectional Crisis, whatever you want to call it. It's the lead up to the Civil War. And before we look at the issue of slavery, just sort of a couple of reminders. First off, where does this fall in the curriculum framework? As written in Main idea 5.2, there was intensified by expansion and deepening regional divisions, debates over slavery and other economic, cultural, and political issues led the nation into civil war. And a subpoint, debates over slavery came to dominate political discussions in the 1850s, leading to the election of 1860 and the secession of southern states. Secession meaning the leaving of the Union. And a reminder of our thesis, aggressive and controversial expansion of the United States territory made the problem of slavery, forcing this problem onto the nation, and highlighting the haziness around where states' rights ends and federal power begins, and accelerating the nation towards civil war. Okay, let's just do a little reminder of the North and the South, and key differences between the two. The North, industry and immigration. Diverse economy, market economy. They're connected by railroads, communication, and rapidly expanding West, and that West is connected to the North through sort of an East-West railroad connection. And immigrants, large numbers of Germans and Irish coming in the period immediately preceding this, and still sort of trickling in as well. And the detested slavery, particularly the Germans, as competition for their own, wages. And Irish look at the blacks really very racist towards them because the Irish sort of see themselves as one step up in the social hierarchy at the time. And they both, and non-immigrants also see slavery as reducing their own value of working wages. So Germans and the Irish both have strong views over the issue of slavery, with the Germans wanting to end it, and the Irish wanting it to see that African American slaves are kept in an inferior position, lower than themselves. Now in the South, agricultural and slavery remain dependent on cash crops, particularly cotton, no real railroad connections or this kind of an investment in infrastructure, and little immigration coming in. Some states, the slaves are actually the majority of the population. Well, actually, it's more like some counties than some states. And whites fear any changes to the order. They very much fear that if you end slavery, it's going to be like anarchy. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be a revolution. It's going to be bloodshed. And so they very much are very protective of it. But we got to keep in mind with the whole issue, it's really about power is what it all comes down to. And in Congress, in the House of Representatives, we can see that the North, with a growing population, both natural and through immigrants, that their members in Congress is growing, and their power over the presidency is also sort of growing. Where power is even is in the Senate, and that's what it's all about. If you add a state to the Union, you're adding in 2 senators. Are those 2 senators going to be protecting the institution of slavery, or are they going to be opposed to it? That's what it's all about when it comes to adding these new territories in, is that you can tip the balance of power in the Senate. Because in the House, it's northern population is sort of tipping the balance that way, but you can always check it by having control of the Senate. So, California. And they're going to see that they can no longer compromise with California. We look at all the different compromises that we've had. And we're going to get one last one with California, but it is going to be the last of the compromises. And, we're not solving this fundamental question. Are slaves' property to be protected? Is the nation a single unity? Or is it a confederation of states? Can a state leave the Union? These questions are not being answered by these compromises. And we'll see with California, we're going to get our last and final compromise, the Compromise of 1850. So California, shortly after acquiring it from Mexico, gold is discovered. And California, prior to the discovery of gold, was really a faraway outpost. There's missionaries, there's a few Mexicans living along the coast, but for the most part, it's got a very small population. And, natural harbors like San Francisco, well, there's not a lot of trade going on in the Pacific Ocean. Right? This is a time when the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Oceans are the dominant areas of overseas trade. The Pacific Ocean, not yet. But with gold being discovered, it's attracting a lot of people to come in. And they're not going to make a lot of money. The kind of people who are going to make money are the ones who put out this advertisement. This is Henry Barber, Pier 13, East River. That's in New York Harbor. Come on down. We'll put you on a boat. We'll send you over to California. These are the people who really made the money off of the gold rush. The people just sort of transporting them over are the ones who went over and set up saloons or other things there. And it's attracting, quite a lot of people. Real ragtag group of people were attracted. For the most part, for the Americans, these are people kind of trying to escape. Maybe they're criminals, or they want to get away from their families, or they're just young men on the looking for some adventure or some opportunity who are heading over. And we can see in this picture as well, Chinese. China is going through turbulent times, and there's sort of a lot of push in terms of pushing people out, refugees, migrants, things like the Taiping Rebellion causing famine. And where are they going? Well, some were thinking, well, let's try our luck over in this world across the ocean, and we're heading over there. And there's a common person, very common sort of gold digger. And as I said, most didn't really make any money, but the population of California is growing. One guy, incidentally, who did make quite a good money off of this and founded a good company is Levi Strauss and Levi Jeans, and found that his denim product was very suitable for the miners who need a tough fabric. And so the Levi Jeans company was born out of the California gold rush. So, California, gold rush, rapid population growth, they're ready to be a state. They're ready to apply. And they apply. They have a discussion, are we going to allow slavery to be permitted? And they say, no slavery. And California's constitution that they draw up rejected slavery. South is alarmed by this. Wait, under the Missouri Compromise, California's under the line and should be a slave state. Well, the president at the time, President Taylor, he supported California's application, believed that it's up to each of these new states. Let them make the decision themselves. The idea of popular sovereignty, let the people decide. South saw this as an attack. This is going to be 2 new senators coming in that are going to be opposed to slavery, probably, and they threatened to leave. They're just not going to accept California coming in as a free state. So we're going to have a debate. And in the 1850 winter session of Congress, there's a lot of issues and a lot of sort of distrust. Texas borders there's a dispute over where their borders end, and the borders of New Mexico and Utah, which the new areas coming in from Mexico, there's a dispute over that. North is just strongly opposed to slavery in the capital city, and that's a long burning issue. They want that resolved. South accused the North of not enforcing the Fugitive Slave Act. The runaway slaves is increasing, and then California. And South, as we said, is threatening to leave. So we're going to get a compromise, the compromise of 1850. And what it boils down to is that the North will get California coming in as a free state. And they will not allow the selling of slaves in the District of Columbia, in the capital. Slavery is still illegal there, though. For the South, Utah and New Mexico, they'll get it by popular sovereignty. These are 2 territories, and it's decided that in the future, slavery may be permitted there if the people of the area agree to it. And they get a stronger Fugitive Slave Act that we'll get to very shortly, and to assist in capturing and returning runaway slaves. And Texas borders are readjusted, smaller borders, and they're given some cash in return for that. Now, who's putting this deal through? It's in the Senate, and it's these 3 sort of giants: John C. Calhoun up here, voice for the South; Daniel Webster, sort of representing the North; and Henry Clay representing the West. And a young buck over here, his name is Stephen Douglas, and he's sort of the new generation. Now, that's not handsome John C. Calhoun, Warhawk. It's actually this John C. Calhoun, Walking Dead zombie, that's putting this deal through. And as the deal's put through, we're thinking, great, solved this issue, but sort of symbolizing that the issue is not yet resolved is William Seward. And he, a senator, young senator from New York, and put out a famous speech saying slavery is forbidden in this nation, not by the Constitution, but by a higher law, a law higher than the Constitution, and he means by God. And it's sort of showing like, you might have compromised on this, but we're not going to be sort of just letting this stand, this possible expansion of slavery. And as a leading abolitionist voice, sort of symbolizing, the issue's not over. Now, if we look at the map, and what this means is, okay, California's coming in with their 2 senators over there, and New Mexico territory and the Utah territory, it's to be decided in the future by settlers coming in. Now, there's population very small, it's very dry sort of areas in here. And this unorganized territory, according to the Missouri Compromise, it should be, when they get organized as a state, these should be as a free states. And we got a compromise. But as we know, this compromise will not last and it will fall apart. Okay, thank you very much for listening.